I'm Uncle Randy. I'm not here to impress you. I'm here to tell you the truth as I see it.
I wanna feel alone tonight.
Last episode, I talked about the anger I didn't understand, where it came from, how it shaped me. This episode is about what happened after I finally saw it. The moment I knew I needed to change was the moment my relationship with my son stopped. That was the line. Everything after that got worse before it got better. My mental health took a turn. I became extremely blaming. I was the victim in my own story. I was angry all the time. And I told myself what a lot of people tell themselves: this isn't my fault. And the truth is, I spent 13 years fighting in court to see my son, and it took a toll. It affected my mental health, how I showed up. I never harmed him or walked away, but I did have to step back and give him space. Not because I gave up, but because I couldn't force a relationship that wasn't being received. And that's a hard thing to sit with. The biggest fear I had about changing was not the work, it was not knowing how. Even more than that, it was the idea of facing the world without a mask, because for a long time the mask worked. It protected me, gave me identity, made me feel like I knew who I was. But it wasn't real. The first thing I changed was alcohol. I cut it out completely. Not gradually, no cutting back, just done. And I wouldn't say I had a list of destructive behaviors that I needed to clean up. But I did have one thing that I didn't understand how to deal with, and that was my anger. Early on, I didn't handle it well. I had major outbursts. Then for a while, I just stuffed it down. I went on antidepressants about 15 years ago, and they helped in a way, but not in a healthy way. They didn't solve anything. They just numbed everything. And for a long time, that worked. Because if you don't feel it, you don't have to deal with it. We all know, though, eventually you have to deal with it. For me, that was last November. That's when I came off the medication. And all the things I had been avoiding were still there, waiting. That's when the real work started. I've apologized to my wife. I've apologized to my stepkids for anything that I've done that may have hurt them. And that matters. But here's something that I've learned. Admitting you were wrong is easier than changing your behavior. Changing behavior, that's where the work is. And I'm still working on that today. Now, when I met my wife 19 years ago, I wasn't this version of me. I was still very much my past self. In a lot of ways, I still am. But the difference now is that I live with more integrity. I'm more honest about who I am. And that honesty, that's what makes me who I am today, not the masks I used to wear. When we first met, I still drank. And in the 19 years we've been together, she's seen me drunk once. And neither of us enjoyed that experience. That was the last time. At the beginning, we did everything together. And that was something that was not normal for me. I didn't realize that I needed to be steady until after we got together. And I never thought of myself as impressive. That wasn't my mindset. But I did have to learn something more important than being impressive. And that was being consistent. When I stepped into a family or a household with 2 kids, that changed everything. Because now attention wasn't about me, it was split, and rightfully so. The kids come first. My stepdaughter didn't have her father in the picture, so there was a responsibility there. Someone had to step up. My stepson, on the other hand, we connected easily. We had similar interests. It was just natural. I'd say that we're probably closer now than we ever have been. But back then, my mental health started to decline. And at the same time, and partially because my biological son was moved across the province, and that relationship started to fade. There was a version of me that couldn't come forward into this life. And that included my party lifestyle and promiscuity. That version had to die. Not because someone said it had to, but because it didn't fit anymore. And like I said, it's been almost 19 years, and I can honestly say it's only been in the last year that I've started to feel like myself. Like I'm not pretending anymore. For me, masculinity isn't what I thought it was when I was younger. It's not about control. It's not about image. It's about doing what needs to be done, not whatever you want to do. That's it. It's pretty simple, but it's not easy. What gave me peace in this was admitting that my life wasn't manageable and turning it over to God. And that changed everything for me when I realized that God is real. Praying and thinking deeply about patterns in the scripture and how they repeat, and how we're living those patterns right now. Here's the part they don't always say. Changing doesn't fix everything. I still don't have a relationship with my son, and that bothers me deeply. Redemption doesn't erase consequences. It just changes who you are moving forward. If I could go back and talk to myself 20 years ago, I'd say don't take life so seriously. There's no way that you get out alive. And if I was talking to a man right now who knows that he needs to change but hasn't started, I'd ask, what are you waiting for? Do you want to die doing what you've always done in your old ways? Or build something new, something meaningful with people who matter? Redemption, for me, means peace. It means I can sit back and watch my grandkids run and play. It means being proud of my adult kids and what they've become, the parents that they are, the things that they've overcome. I still get angry. That didn't disappear. But now I look at it in the moment. I ask myself, is this worth holding on to? Or do I need to let it go? Most of the time, I end up letting it go. Because most of the time, I'm angry for no real reason. And if I'm being honest, my biggest fear is becoming that angry boy again. The one I left behind. This isn't a finished story. I'm just where I'm at. I'm not here to impress you. I'm here to tell the truth as I see it. We'll talk next time.
I wanna feel alone tonight.